Hey Melissa, thanks for joining. Here's Tonya already. Very timely, Tonya. So we're just waiting for Tonya to join us from Stories Parfums to tell us all about her. Let me just see if she's there. Here we go. Let me get her to. Let's see again.
Good
Here we go.
afternoon.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm well. I'm just going to make sure my volume is up. And let's hope there's nobody disturbs us and rings through.
Yeah, that sometimes happens, doesn't
I
it?
know. Happy International Women's Day, by the way.
Yes. Happy International Women's Day to you too. Doing anything nice today other than working
I
hard?
No, I am literally working hard. That is about it. I am traveling to London tomorrow, so I'm trying to get everything sorted to get away for a few days with work. Not any pleasure in it. It's well, there will be pleasure as well, but it's with work.
Oh, that's good. But it's still nice to get away, change of scenery.
Totally, absolutely. Can't wait. It's just lovely to have travel up and running again, isn't it? And
Isn't
being
it?
able
Yeah.
to go and do face to face again. So yeah, I can't wait. What about you? Have you got anything going on?
No, working hard as usual, and then the usual running around to clubs this evening after all of the school activities. So yeah, it's just non-stop as usual. But I did get woken up this morning. Well, no, I went and saw my old one, and the first thing she said was, "Oh, it's International Women's Day," so that was quite nice.
Oh,
It's good
that's
that they know
nice.
about it.
Good. Oh
Well,
no,
look,
it's
thank
lovely.
you so much for joining us today, Tonya. I'm so excited to hear. I know we had a brief chat earlier today, but I'm so excited to hear lots more about your beautiful, beautiful brand, which I can see in the background looking lovely. So beautiful.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
so tell us a bit about Stories first, and then come on to why you founded it.
Absolutely. So Stories was born out of a hobby, believe it or not. I have four children, and my youngest two are twin girls who have just turned 15. So when they started to grow up a little bit, it actually it gave me a little bit of extra time, and I thought I want to do something for myself. I want to find a hobby, and fragrance was always something that really connected me to who I really am, and it also connected me to my grandmother, who I actually never met. And I always knew what fragrance that she wore. I always used to play with her jewelry and some of her clothing that my mum had kept. And I grew up with this feeling through her fragrance that I knew her. So I loved niche fragrances. I loved beauty, and I thought I would love to create a fragrance. Learn how to blend fragrance, learn about a little bit about the art of perfumery, and create my own bespoke fragrance, and that would be it. That took me to Grasse in the south of France, and there I created two beautiful perfumes, which I thought were for myself, and I went on to share with the world. Because what happened to me there in Grasse was so significant. I had a trauma in my life when I was 12, and my childhood had been overshadowed from the trauma. And even though I successfully removed the trauma in later years through counselling, I still didn't have my childhood memories. And that all changed then when I went to Grasse in the south of France, and I started working with fragrance notes. And unbeknown to me at the time, the power that fragrance has, the connection it has with your memory bank, which is based in the brain, and it had the power to connect me to those memories. And I just left with an absolute passion to tell people that the power that fragrance can have in their life, and also to connect people with their own stories, as well, to help people believe that they have a story to tell, really, and to really explore that through the art of fragrance. So that was about 5, 6 years ago that journey started. And then in 2018, in October 2018, I launched online with our first fragrances and hand body.
So that's incredible. So talk to me. So first of all, you had no experience in the perfume space. So I think that, for anyone that's thinking about, becoming launching their own business and thinks, well, maybe I don't have the experience. So you're saying you didn't come from a background of launching products, or like you said, developing a fragrance.
Yeah, no, not at all. It all just started that I wanted to learn how to blend a little bit about the basics of perfumery, the different notes, the different, the top notes, the heart notes, the back notes, then about the fragrance families. I was really interested to learn, how do you create something so complex? And it was that desire to learn that actually took me to a perfumery in Grass. They were really great. They opened the doors to me and said, look, yeah, come and work with our master perfumer, and she will teach you a little bit about that. So I had no background with fragrance whatsoever. I had no background in launching a brand, anything. I had trained as a PA. I worked as a PA for a few years pre-children. And then when my kids came along, I decided that I wouldn't work. So I was full-time mum for 24 years before I went on this journey.
That's incredible. So I think that probably gives anyone the confidence to, try something that they're really passionate about. But I'm super interested you said that you had lost your childhood memories. So was it while you were smelling different fragrances, or, at what point did something happen and they unlocked? And talk us through how that happened.
Yeah, so what you learn to do when you're learning the world of perfumery is you blind smell. So what that means is you sit at a perfumer's organ and you have about 200 bottles all around you, and you do not know what you're smelling. So you're given little notes on a blotter and you smell, and what you learn to do is describe, how does it make me feel? Is there a feeling in my body? Is there a memory it links me to? And I don't know whether you've ever tried it. It is very difficult to smell something and try to describe, not guess what it is you're smelling.
Yeah.
Describe your connection. So I find very, very beautiful, and it wasn't even in that process that I started getting memories of my childhood. It really just was learning to connect, does it give me a warm feeling? Does it give me a color? Do I get a memory, a shape? And so when you have the 200 bottles sitting in front of you, you start to downsize, from the 200, and you start to put aside what notes that you want to put in your fragrance. So the good thing about my process is I work 100% on my own, putting the fragrances together, but I do work with a perfumer who then adapts it professionally into the top notes, heart notes, and back notes. So when I had downsized to about 20 different notes, and I knew that I wanted to have those in my fragrance, and I sat back and I smelt it in its completion, it connected me right back into a memory, like very vivid memory, back into my grandfather's garden as a child. And he just loved his garden. He had rose bushes, he had every flower going. He had lovely tomato plants, and he had a lovely river at the bottom of his garden. And he smoked a tobacco pipe smoke. And that smell of the tobacco was always very comforting to me, as in the pipe smoke. And my father also used to smoke a pipe. So all of a sudden, at the completion of this fragrance, I was taken right back into this memory. And it was so powerful that and at that time, I didn't realize that there was a scientific fact that your sense of smell is the most powerful of all your senses that connects you to your memory. So when I knew that, it was, how did I not know that? It was just unbelievable.
That's incredible. And then it's a story. Is that how you then came around the name of the brand?
Yeah. So I look at it as an art, a bit like a painting. Yeah, so I'm given a blank canvas and I work away on my own and I blend. And every time I have more fragrances to launch, so I have experimented at how I work. And it's very much like a blank canvas, and I put together my story. But how I interpret something and a painting is completely different how you would interpret something. So even though I'm telling my story through my fragrances, I'm hoping that people will go, oh, that's interesting. So what do I experience when I smell it? And what you smell will completely be different to what I smell, and your story is completely different to mine. So that's why perfume's so unique and so different on people's skin, because you are connecting to your memory bank and your association with something in your life. And that's where stories came from. It was all about storytelling, about the emotional connection that you can have with scent and memory. And that's how it was all born. And also, actually, we number the bottles as well, rather than giving them a name. And that also is to remove any preconceptions that we might have. One of the things that I when I worked in Grass was I had all these ideas. I don't want like this in it as a note. I don't want to put this in a fragrance. And I had this, and when I spoke to the perfumer about it, she just kind of looked at me and didn't say anything. And I didn't like vanilla when I started out on this business. And I had in my mind, I will not put vanilla in a fragrance. I don't like it. And she handed me this blotter, and I didn't know what I was smelling. And when I inhaled it, I had these beautiful sensations, and I felt, I was writing away what I felt about it and the description. And she said, what are you smelling? And I said, I don't know. And she said, it's vanilla. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I quickly recognized that we all have preconceptions, what we like and what we hate. And what I was doing was associating vanilla to, do you know the synthetic vanilla that you used to smell years ago in candles? That was so overpowering. And I didn't like that smell. So I was associating, and I had a preconception really of this note that I thought I didn't like. And I go on and I love it. I put them in my fragrances, actually. So I numbered my bottles so that also people could explore fragrances with freedom without really knowing until they look right into the ingredient pack what they're smelling.
That's really interesting. So you're saying the different numbers then, I'll likely smell something different to someone else then?
Yeah.
What you're picking up.
Yeah. So for numbering our bottles, what we do is I realize that we go into a store and we look for the type of fragrance we like. So whether that be tobacco or citrus, and we will walk by all the other fragrances that have citrus in it if you don't like citrus. Right. And I wanted to remove that. I wanted people to just come and experiment and smell, because all citrus scents are the same anyway. And you may have had an experience with citrus sometime in your past. I'm only using citrus as an example, but you might have some relationship with it in the past that has made you not like it. So what I want to do is say to people, let's come and explore this fragrance. First of all, tell me how it makes you feel. So what I tend to do is spray it on their skin and ask them how it makes them feel. And they start to describe, and maybe a memory or a thought. But when you move then into the ingredients and tell them what it is, I would say 9 out of 10 people will go, oh, that would never have been the fragrance I would have picked up, because they thought they wouldn't have liked it. So that's why I number the bottles. But yeah, our sense of smell is very unique to each other. We all have a memory to something that we smell. And that may be a good memory, a bad memory, maybe something. And that can actually have an influence over what you smell.
It's fascinating, isn't it? So you're removing all of the preconception that people would have, and that's very different, isn't it, to I guess 99% of the fragrance industry.
Yeah, where they focus on masculine, feminine, and they focus on the ingredients. But I wanted to turn that completely around and just be, look, just take for a moment in your time to stop and think, how do I feel when I smell this? You know, and it is all very much a teaching aspect, because I love to tell people my story and my experience, and I love them to start to explore their own story. So yeah, it's completely different to really what the other fragrance houses are doing.
So how are you educating people about it then? Because it is so different.
Yeah, so through lockdown, we decided to take scent masterclasses online, and they have been hugely successful. That we've continued to take them as pop-ups in store, and we also continue to do them online for other countries that are, you know, can't get to us quickly. So we do a very unique masterclass where they have the scents in front of them, and I share my story, and I take them on that journey of you know, connecting, you know, they write down, how does it make you feel? Do you get a color?
Yeah.
Do you get a shape? Do you get a picture? Do you get a feeling in your body? They start to explore that, and they actually then are taken in through then the ingredients and the families. It usually happens when we do these master classes, that somebody will write down a beautiful story of how they connect to a fragrance, and then when they look at the ingredients, as I said earlier, they're completely blown, because it's not normally, but that's become their unique fragrance that they buy. So we continue to do our master classes. We love teaching. We love having that teaching aspect. It's a completely founder-led brand, so they get me, and I love being involved and seeing people's stories emerge. And we have done an amazing one lately in Harvey Nichols in Dublin, and we have done in Fenwick and Bond Street as well. And it's amazing. It's a fabulous journey.
That's really, yeah. So you're getting the people interactive. And yeah, fragrance was something, actually, you're right, in lockdown, that lots of people did engage with, because they wanted to learn something new, didn't they?
Yeah.
And we weren't going anywhere, so it's nice to treat yourself to something. So you've been going now for, did you say 3 years, is it?
3 years. So 3 years in October past, yeah.
And what have been, I think you've just mentioned, so Harvey Nicks, you've mentioned Phoenix there. What are some of the highs of during that time?
Yeah, so as I said, we launched in 2018 online. Then 2019, we went into Harvey Nichols. First of all, we launched with them. Then very quickly after, Fortnum and Mason, and then Fenwick, and that's across some of their stores across the UK. That is very amazing for such a young brand.
Yeah.
You know, when you know, you look at the other fragrance houses out there that are niche. And you know, there's the Byredo, the Labo, all fabulous brands that I love. And then all of a sudden, there is this founder-led, independently or financed company, financed by myself, that comes and competes with these fragrance houses. So those are definitely highs in terms of getting into those really prestige stores.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you say, those are huge, huge names in retail to be in, and your brand's 3 years old.
Yes, yeah, yeah, and we've just launched into Brown Thomas in Dublin as well. They've opened a new flagship store there in Dundrum, and I mean, it is amazing, and it's a lot of hard work, as you know, to get out there, but also to be able, as a young brand, to have come through a pandemic and to be self-financed and to be an indie brand. It's just incredible. And I think, you know, we don't tend to pat ourselves on the back too much as founders, because you know, I never ever feel as if I've got there and I've made it. My team always are celebrating and going, "Oh, you're not delighted that, you know, we've got in there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's next?"
What's next? Yeah.
It's never really, "Oh yes, we're there." It's really important to me that we're direct to consumer as well. So we've really spent a lot of time, thankfully pre-pandemic, that we worked on getting our website up and running so that we could talk directly to our consumer. That's really important to me, being a female or a founder-led brand, I should say, that I could be physically talking to my customer and they could have a reach to me as well. So it's important that I continue to build that as well. But, you know, you asked about the lows. One of the lows that you find is, you know, you get so lonely as a founder. You know what I mean? You have to, for my experience, I didn't have the experience of launching a business, and I didn't, you know, have an experience to enter one of the most oversaturated industry, you know, categories in the industry. But it's I suppose for me, accepting that you don't have to have it all. You don't need to know it all to be a founder. It's getting those right people around you. But then it does become a lonely place, doesn't it? You know, for founders.
Yeah, I think it can be. I know we discussed it earlier. I think, you know, coming from, obviously my background is very different to yours, but having come from, you know, being parts of teams and leading teams to then, you know, predominantly working on your own. And when there are challenges, I think in an office environment, you've got someone to share that sort of challenge with, and it sort of dissolves it a little bit or takes some of the tension out of it. But when you're slogging away day after day, I think I've definitely got a mindset to try and deal with those challenges now, and that's fine. But it doesn't mean that they're any less difficult to process and navigate your ways through, especially if there might be some days like there were last week where, you know, there might be multiple challenges in a day, and how you get through those. I agree with you. It can be, you know, incredibly difficult in a solo point of view. But I think what amazes me, I think you're right, as I totally agree that, you know, you never take time to look back at what you've achieved, which you really should do, because like you said, you're 3 years old and you've achieved so much, but you're always feeling, okay, what's next? What else do I need to cover? What you know, how do we continue the momentum? I think that's, you know, but I think just taking that time to just take stock and see how far you've come and just reflect to then be able to plan forward is really really important. But I think what's so inspiring about your story is the fact, like you say, that you haven't come from this sort of background. You've basically taken something that was a passion of yours, and it, you know, I hate to say the light bulb moments, but you literally had this moment of, you know, the fragrances evoking such strong memories. You know, it's really powerful. And, you know, what I can see from talking to you is it's your passion, really, isn't it, that's driven all of this through.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that, you know, I love getting alongside other people who have dreams and vision. And it's, you know, if you had asked me 10 years ago, would you be doing this? Or even 20 years ago, it would be an absolute no. I wouldn't have even thought that I could have done it. And also, one of the things that I'm passionate about storytelling and stories is, even my past is a very complex situation through trauma, etc. And you know, I would never have dreamt that I would have had something that's so negative that was in my life, turned it around into something positive, and really been able to help other founders as well on their journey, or people that are just exploring, because we all have a story. I didn't think I did over the years. But you realize that actually people's stories are really unique. And I love that power of everybody's stories being different and sharing, giving people a place to share without fear. And, you know, so you know, you can see that I didn't have any expertise in this area, but wow, you can do it if you have the passion and the drive.
If you have the passion to do it. I think passion
absolutely.
and drive. Which
Absolutely.
actually leads me on really nicely to say, what tips would you give to people that are looking, you know, whether they be female, male, whatever, whoever, any entrepreneur out there that's looking to launch their own business? What advice would you give them?
I definitely, as I said, you have to believe in yourself. If you have a passion and a drive, you will do it. And also, I think the best thing that I did at the beginning was, a lot of the time in creating the whole aesthetic of the brand, the fragrances, the whole creative side, was really simple for me, because I am very creative and I love doing that. And I knew very quickly what I wanted in a bottle. You know, we moved on to sustainability. I knew that from the beginning. I wanted to become a more sustainable brand. But what I would say is that I did surround myself with people that knew more than me. I wasn't afraid to put my hands up and say, I don't know what that means. I still would be on meetings sometimes, and if somebody uses a term, I'm quickly Googling, what does that mean? Because, you know, it's okay not to know anything or everything. And so I would say, if you've got a passion and a drive, do it. Find out what is unique for you and what it is you want to do in that arena that you want to launch in. You know, find out your unique points, and what is it about you and your brand, or the brand that you want to launch, is unique. And I would also just say, never let a no be a no. I'm sure you felt it as well. There's sometimes we have been, you know, trying to get into some fabulous locations, and we have received a no or a not yet or a blank, you know, so, and there's not a response. And then maybe a year later, we're getting an email to say, we would love to see your product, or we would love to launch you. So I never take no as a no. I always take no as a positive, and always try to come back on that and get a yes.
It's the perseverance, isn't it? That
Totally.
You know, and you're right, not taking a no as rejection. It's just, you know, you know, you're in it for the long term. I guess it's not a sprint, is it? I think one of the sayings that I sort of try and remind myself of is that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yes.
And there is nothing. I think Joe Wicks articulates it so well. He always talks about how everyone talks about how he was an overnight success. He was like, yeah, it was a 10-year overnight.
Yeah.
You know, it is about having that perspective that, you know, I think you just have to keep persevering.
Yeah.
And, you know, a no might be a no right now, but it could be as you grow as a brand and become more of a better fit for certain places, how you can grow into that space.
Absolutely. And I don't take no's personally. I really don't. I can just shrug them off my shoulders very quickly, so I don't get hurt by it. And I think that's important, that you don't take that personally. It's just a no right now, as you say, but it's not necessarily going to be a no in a year's time. And we find that with Brown Thomas, we introduced them to the brand a year ago or more. Then of course we hit lockdown and everything else, and it was very difficult because everybody was rushing to try and find what way they could survive, whether it being going online or whatever. And then we got this beautiful email to say that, you know, they wanted to launch us. So you just don't take it personally either, because definitely they can turn around very quickly.
Yeah, and you don't know, I guess it's just being on their radar, isn't it, as well? And they might watch you grow over time.
Yes.
You know, retail is now opening, which is a great thing. And I think the passion as well, your personal passion is really clear. The fact that you want to tell that story and share it with other people, that is becoming much more something that people want to hear about, and is really attractive to people, is that it's that more personalized approach. And yours particularly is a very personal one of how that really unlocked so many memories and emotions for you, which is phenomenal, really.
Definitely.
And what have you got coming up this year? What are the big things this year that you can share with us anyway?
Yeah, so we definitely are increasing our fragrance line, which is very exciting. As you know, it is, if you're self-financed, the production of new product is much slower than what I would like. I have 3 more fragrances waiting in the line to come. So that is just finding the right time to launch those. And we're moving into candles also. So we're going in, and what I can share with you, they're very exciting. They're very different, and there's still a teaching aspect with them.
Oh, incredible. That sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. And how do you keep yourself motivated to keep going?
Oh, so I have 4 kids, as I was saying, and 1 is away at university, but the other 3 are home. So as you well know, balancing children, home life, I always laugh because my kids really keep me grounded, because there's no airs and graces that you're on the shelves of any beautiful prestige store, because they just are like, Mum, you know, they keep you really grounded. They're the first to tell you, you know, you're so embarrassing when you're on a live. So they motivate me. Honestly, my daughter's been obviously International Women's Day. My daughters, I just hope that I create something that they're extremely proud of. And, you know, my grandmother, she was the reason that I started this brand, and I sadly never met her, but she made such an impression on my life and the way she worked. And I want to do that for my daughters. So they're the motivation. I've got a couple of girls that work in the office with me. They motivate me day in and day out. They keep me right. And my husband also. I mean, that's my motivation. I'm a very family orientated, relational person. And that's my motivation. I also want to become really a renowned fragrance house, with the difference that it is about storytelling. It is about emotional connection. you know, for me, it was healing of memories. It was transcending tragedy. It was all that. So I want that for others as well. I want them to be able to experience that when they, you know, it just isn't for fragrance either. You know, it's when they're, you know, when I go out walking, my sense of smell is so different now. I take in every smell around me. You really develop a real awareness about you that is so different. You know, so that's my motivation. I want to become a renowned fragrance house with a difference.
That's amazing. You're an absolute inspiration to talk to. Honestly, I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I say that I'm sure teenagers don't tell you that they're proud of you, but I'm absolutely certain that they are. I haven't quite got to the teenagers yet, but we're at the tween stage, and then I've got a little one. But they are proud. They just maybe don't articulate it so well.
I know. Oh, thank you so much for your kind words. It's been lovely chatting.
You too. Thank you so much. And I know that we've got a giveaway going live later, haven't we, for International Women's Day?
We do, and that is so exciting. So yeah, everybody needs to keep a little eye on our socials for that going live. And you do an amazing job as well. So congratulations. Your website and products are fabulous.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Well, look, I hope that we can connect face to face some point when you're next in London. And thank you for taking the time to speak to us today, Tonya. It's been an inspiration.
Thank you so much. All righty. You take care.
Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.